Hello, good afternoon, everyone. This is going to be a very, very quick live feed. I know I always say that, but I do actually have quite a bit to do today, and so this very short live feed is to basically thank Zach and Gavin of the Vanguard podcast um, for doing so. I hope that you're all liking and subscribing. They have invited and covered Whole Washington and the Red Berets three times on their podcast now. Which is really just, we owe a huge debt of gratitude. And then I woke up to a friend, I was corresponding with a friend about this and co-organizer about this upcoming action that we're planning in Tacoma on the 26th. And she said, Laura, have you seen the Vanguard? They did an episode yesterday in their Red Berets. And I said, I hadn't even paid attention. I think I retweeted something. So, but I was busy last night and just distracted. And so it wasn't until this morning that I listened to their podcast. Let me go ahead and find how I've responded. I just, yeah, it's better if I, rather than trying to gather my thoughts, I think it's best if I just read what it was I said. Because I am a little bit in overwhelm mode. There's really, really a lot happening. So I've even put quite a few. The word emotional is kind of a sexist term, so I don't really when it's talking about women coming out and kind of strongly voicing their opinions or where they're standing on things. The whole thing about Movement for a People's Party and all of the concerns and allegations, primarily what it brought up for me, several things. First of all, number one, it's really unfair and impossible for someone like me, and that I'm not in a position to clear up or answer to any of those concerns. That doesn't mean that I don't care about those grievances. I don't care about people that are trying to have their voices heard. It's just simply not fair for the weight of that to fall on me. So or in anyone else for that matter who is not directly involved. So basically, the Vanguard's live feed. I can find my original tweet and I can just read all of it and it'll be perfect. So the Vanguard's the Vanguard's podcast yesterday, and they looked amazing in their red berets, and they were both wearing red berets that were crafted by Fran Bauer, who is a retired nurse who lives in Florida and who mails red berets to Whole Washington every single month to help raise money for Whole Washington. You can order your red berets. I'm going to always do the pitch. We have to earn money if we want to do a ballot initiative and if we ever want to pass this. So, number one, I really, really appreciate the times that the Vanguard has had us on, shared Whole Washington's information for how people can support, and wearing the red berets and letting people know that they're wearing them in solidarity for National Improved Medicare for All, and tying together the state by state solidarity strategy and how people can directly help Whole Washington, which is providing a template and a pathway. And of course, everything that I said about being ecstatic about the People's Party, reaching out and partnering with Whole Washington on the national policy platform, that all my enthusiasm and my excitement absolutely remains for that. Because we have been absolutely ignored by, as I've said in multiple live feeds, we've been ignored by the progressive Medicare for All establishment by and large, and by overwhelmingly the progressive media, apart from, who I'm now referring to as the Red Beret Brigade, and that includes the Vanguard and Amped Up podcast with Ryan Knight and Ron Placone and Jen Perlman and Justin Jackson. Did I leave anyone out? So yeah, I'm really, really appreciative of that. But we have, two important and distinct issues, at least here, and it doesn't fall on the Red Berets or whole Washington or any volunteers in order to make sure that there is transparency and that we, essentially it's about sort of um, healing and fixing anything that has been problematic so that moving forward, this doesn't cause massive rifts or failure when that doesn't need to be the case. I think if you all just go and listen to the Vanguard's podcast, they make it exceptionally clear how from day one, they've been very, very supportive and given a lot of positive press coverage to MPP. And the only reason that they're covering all of this as a holistic picture is because they do indeed care very much about the success. And I don't think, and I'm very inclined to agree with them that it's not the way to achieve success, is to ignore things that need to be addressed in order to make this better. So let's see. So basically, the title of their video, I shared the video, it's MPP volunteers urge Nick Brana to go on the Vanguard and to address petition. So I've shared that YouTube feed. And I added to that, I don't even need to listen to the full video before stopping to share and urge Nick Brana to please go on Vanguard Pod. They have platformed whole Washington 3 times. And then I have followed this up with, I can say with absolute conviction and sincerity that these journalists intend nothing but success and the best for forming a strong grassroots coalition around a justice platform. They have invited me on 3 times already to share as a board member of Whole Washington and as founder and executive director of Red Berets Medicare for All. After 3 years of tweeting, email outreach, phone calls, and essentially begging for the progressive establishment to take heed and include our solidarity strategy, it was a welcome shock at Vanguard Pod. Also, and then I linked the picture of the graphic, thank you to the People's Party. And their quote of, we are pleased to announce that we have partnered with Whole Washington, a grassroots coalition of healthcare professionals, activists, and volunteers fighting for single-payer healthcare. Whole Washington will be advising us as we form the National People's Party platform for endorsing universal healthcare. WholeWashington.org. So the absolute deep gratitude and excitement for that partnership absolutely continues. And yet, I say to address the people who have been DMing me and coming on to my tweets and my feed, I said, to those who have reached out to me with concerns or grievances, I apologize that it has no doubt come across that I do not care about your voices being heard. This is most definitely not the case. It's just that, 1, it's not my role or place to address. 2, I am continued. I am at maximum capacity organizing with Whole Washington a major event on the 26th and scheduling venue and interview times for around 20 people from across the state and country for Kenny Ballantyne's healthcare justice documentary. Once again, thank you, Vanguard Pod. Thank you for your journalistic integrity, for caring deeply about the success of grassroots coalition building and third-party efforts. I often want, you both genuinely care very much. I often wonder where we'd be if the Medicare for All establishment hadn't ignored Whole Washington for years. And then Georgia Davenport, field director of Whole Washington, responds with, this is fantastic, transparent, and takes the labor of addressing it off of Whole Washington's volunteers where it certainly doesn't belong. And that's the end of that. So, yeah, that's all. Both things can be true at the same time, that I am both ecstatic for a partnership and in deep gratitude, which is probably why I responded, with, as you do, is kind of wanting to push it aside. It's like, this is the first time, apart from all this few pieces of amazing progressive media attention by those that I mentioned, it's the first time that WholeWashington.org has been taken seriously, taken as a serious strategy. So I'm sure that all of you who are watching this can understand why when people are addressing me as in, what about all of these concerns? You shouldn't be partnering with movement for or with People's Party. This is going to reflect poorly and all of this and this and this. I think to myself, it's very easy and rightfully so to go back to experiences that I've had within the Democratic Party, where I was, by the letter of the law, assaulted by a major. Well, he's now our lieutenant governor, former Representative Denny Heck. And then when I tried, along with witnesses, to go to the Pierce County Democrats to have that have their endorsement of him revoked, we made a motion for that. And by the way, the vote almost won. It was like sort of two in the favor of keeping, not repealing or revoking his endorsement, right? But during that meeting, it was very heavily charged. Several of the women's asses were called fat. I guess mine's included in that. We were called character assassins. There were women sitting on the front row who I would term as being politically more centrist or supporting the establishment, who were scoffing and sighing and laughing and just making noises during it. It was an awful experience. And I say that only to provide some form of, it's not to provide cover, it's to say that whole Washington doesn't, I would never say to whole Washington, you should never partner with the Democrats, any of the LDs or county orgs or state or anyone else that comes along to say that they will endorse or partner with whole Washington, just because I had that heinous and horrendous experience where my physical person was assaulted and I wasn't harmed, but psychologically, I very much was. It was very intimidating. And then I had weeks of feeling scared and nervous because I had filed that charge, which was then dropped. Nobody really cared about that. And I didn't ever have anybody addressing me on Twitter anytime that I've shared about taking berets to local Democrat meetings and partnering with Democrats to try to get their support or endorsement. Yeah, that's still sitting with me. So that's what it all brought up for me, is this thing. And the thing about it is this is not my burden to carry. That does not mean that I do not care that people had those experiences, or and it is not my burden to provide proof or disproof of those things. So I have now had several days of trying to answer to things that are not my things to answer to. And that's been very, very stressful, in addition to trying to organize a major event. So yeah, we have to keep things transparent, and I have to be able to keep my own personal integrity, just because I am very, very excited and moved to partner with People's Party. I have to also be able to keep my own integrity and not just erase or block or throw people that are contacting me. It's been a very, very sticky situation, and I have good and trusted people who have messaged me, so this is obviously something that I would say probably needs to be addressed, and I hope that it will be, because I want this to succeed, and I want the partnership to succeed. And I want the one payer state solidarity strategy, along with always fighting towards national improved Medicare for all. Go and see Whole Washington's feed at Whole Washington, please, because they've put out a really significant, great thread for everyone to help boost and amplify, please. Yeah, it never feels, it feels more comfortable to push things aside. That's what I'm noticing right now. And I'm noticing, where's the love and the, sometimes it's uncomfortable to call for accountability. I don't want to have to answer for things that are not that I have I don't even have the information or the insight, or nor should I have the responsibility to answer to. I will continue to answer to people that we partner with every single organization who is, especially, People's Party has Medicare for All on their platform, right? Uh, Democratic Party doesn't have it on their platform. They have it on their state platform, and it's being completely undermined and not enforced. And so I would like people to also keep this in perspective. I do think transparency and oh, I got a comment. I got a comment from the Vanguard. Thank you, Zach and Gavin. Yeah, I think it's true that we need that transparency and accountability, and I also want people to see, as far as what they're, when they come to me with this is going to undermine whole Washington or Red Berets. I have responded in such a way that was like, this is a bit it's very laughable. The concerns are legitimate. They are not laughable. But to say that we shouldn't be partnering with an organization due to, harm that has been done, all I do is say, let's look at the Democrats who co-sponsor 68,000. No, I don't think some corruption, or some lack of transparency or things that are not being addressed is just because it's lesser than what the Democrats. I don't think that's okay. I just think what I've said, what I've spent a few minutes saying, is that I deserve to not have this fall on me. And I want to have a successful partnership, and I'm very, very excited about it. And I want to be able to have it be the fullest, amazing potential partnership that we can possibly imagine. Because though whole Washington has to continue to partner with the Democratic Party at all different levels, and I would say we have to reach out to Republicans, because we aren't going to win the vote for whole Washington if we just ignore all of Eastern Utah and no right-leaning independents or Republicans are reached out to. And so if you were to tell me that we have to dissociate ourselves with all of them because quite probably they've engaged in harmful behavior, well, I don't know what to say. Literally, Sarah Hansen was sharing that she'd had, some very negative experiences with her local Green Party. They're not okay. They need to be addressed. There needs to be transparency. And we also have to say they're two separate issues. They must be addressed, but the work and the collaborating and the acknowledging of the good parts and what we can get accomplished together simultaneously, they're related. I think I've said enough. Let me take off these. Yeah. Well, I'll have to read that later because I kind of can't see everything. So yeah, thank you. And then I've been you both looked amazing in your Red Berets, and I think there's already somebody shared something about that in the Slack channel. That's the thing. Listen, to people that have shared things that happen in the Slack that might be disparaging, to people who just want to help get the truth out there. Yeah, that's the thing about grassroots. I better get ready for this because there's going to be people all over the place in Red Berets, and some of them will be actually calling for accountability and the highest level of journalistic and solid integrity, like the Vanguard, and some people will be engaged in behavior that is harming and is not good. And that's probably why people have been so reticent to involve themselves with such a wildly, it could go anywhere. I'll have to look at that, but it's an idea and it's free, and I'm responsible for my own self and my own crafting for healthcare justice. And I do the very best I can to I do the very best I can. It can be a very difficult line to walk, and I'm not really somebody who likes to have to carefully walk lines very much. That's exhausting, and I have a lot going on, including uh, organizing to along with Kenny Valentine to potentially take this over to the UK. We're starting out here in Washington State, and we are arranging, and he is arranging interviews with people. That those all those announcements can kind of come at his own time. I hope that uh, the Vanguard invites Kenny Valentine on it. Maybe it would be exciting to bring him on after the visit, because we're getting very, very close to um, the 26th through 28th. It's kind of a very busy time, but it would be exciting because afterwards, because then there would be clips to share, and there would be, and then at different points he'll decide when the announcements for other involvement will be made, or maybe they won't be made until those interviews are complete and clips of those released. That's for him to decide, and me to know my boundaries. And you see, that's exactly, now that we talk about boundaries, and what I like about the berets and knitting is it's very structured. You don't just get to knit all over the place. The stitches go a certain way. I'm already somebody who kind of lacks structure, and I like to really go outside the lines and break the rules a lot. Um, so I think the knitting kind of helps keep my mind and a lot of things structured for me. I think there's a lot of psychology in there that I could, as a former student of body psychotherapy, I could analyze, but I wouldn't want to bore people. Um, but to the boundary point, I need those. It's healthy. I require those, and this is a boundary issue. This is a thing where I say, as much as I am looking forward to the collaboration of helping to grow, um, you know, a third, not a third, a new major party, helping to advise on creative strategy and along with Whole Washington, the policy platform. I have to set a boundary, and it's very difficult to do on social media if you don't respond to people who have things to say. It is taken as complacency and not caring and erasing. So there's just no way to avoid it. I'm very very involved, in the Twitter sphere, and so I have to set the boundary. And I really quite appreciate Zach and Gavin for uh, helping to keep this in the lane that it needs to be in. So thank you very much. We will look forward to hopefully coming on to the Vanguard pod again after we get this big event done, so we can, hopefully maybe even share clips or kind of share how all of that went. And that's all very, very exciting. And once again, thank you for all of your excellent coverage, for wearing the red berets, for caring about the movement. I think it's necessary. So, all right, take care, everyone. I got to get going here.